And joining us now to discuss the tragic death of Charlie Kirk is Mike Leon, NTD News contributor and host of the podcast Can We Please Talk? Also with us is Angie Wong, a Miami GOP committee woman. Thank you both for joining us on 9/11 and, of course, this tragic morning. Mike, starting with you, on the eve of our nation's most somber day, 9/11, we're shocked by the shooting of Kirk, yet another fatal school shooting as well yesterday. How are you processing all of this?
Well, Carrie, geez, you just dumped a lot on me. First off, good morning. Angie, good to see you. I missed my internship down in the World Trade Center on 9/11. I was a rising junior at Rutgers University, so it's not lost on me what happened that day. I'm about to start crying, waking up to text messages and calls from my parents wondering if I was okay. So I'm going to leave that there right there so I don't get down the rabbit hole of that. Seeing the video yesterday of what happened with Charlie Kirk, a couple things came to mind for me, Carrie. First off, and Angie and I have done panels on other networks. Angie and I probably disagree on a bunch of different things. I would never wish violence on Angie or anybody else for that matter. I worked at Fox News for 3 years. I know what different viewpoints look like coming from a network perspective. So the political commentator in me started thinking about, just this person that, as Melina said earlier, has a family, has 2 little kids. You feel for the little kids that will grow up without a dad. But one thing that's kind of been resonating with me is this overarching question, which I'm sure we'll get into, and I'm sure Angie will get into in her response. How do we tone this down? Well, we can't tone it down if you don't look inward at times. And I'm not blaming Charlie Kirk. I'm talking about the people right now that have been quick to rush to their 5 p.m., 8 p.m., 9 p.m., or their YouTube channel to make a thumbnail and to make a video that pushes out content that continues to drive the divisiveness. If you don't look inward, if you don't stop before you upload that video, if you don't stop and say, is this adding to the discourse? You are just as bad as what happened yesterday. You could be responsible for some of what happened yesterday. And it's something that is not lost on me, Carrie. I'm a journalism graduate. I worked in television news. Everything I do is with intentionality to add to the discourse, to leave something behind for my girls to listen to. At best, so I'm adding to the discourse and on television panels to be able to contribute. And I do that because I don't want to hop on trends. I don't want to do certain things about this movie's woke and that, and this is why this is being bad for you. And I think people need to realize that are creating content like that, that yesterday should be a reminder that when you continue to do things like that, it could lead to things like this, where now 2 little girls, or 2 kids, excuse me, I should say, are growing up without a dad. And that is the worst part in all of this. We're losing our humanity in all of this. And I hope people start to reconsider the content that they're pushing out associated with all of this.
Looking inward, always good advice. Angie, your thoughts this morning?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Mike on a lot of things. And, we are on 2 different spectrums of the political circus here. So the great thing about Charlie Kirk is that he really lit up when he debated. And he loved talking to people no matter what side they stood on, mainly because he enjoyed debate. And you can see it in his eyes that his energy really came out when he was talking to people. And that was the infectious kind of glow that he had. Look, I am so sad to see that he has 2 really young kids, age 1 and 3, and they're going to be growing up in a world without their father. And his father was such a force of nature. The best thing that Charlie Kirk has left us, not just as a person, but with a platform that will continue to grow now, because this platform gave college students a voice at a time when they were being canceled. Conservatives were largely being canceled over the last couple of years, and this platform made it okay for them to be conservative and have conservative values. And I think that's going to carry forward. Clearly, as of yesterday, there's a lot of little Charlie Kirks were made after his death. So I think that this American Comeback Tour really stands up to its name, because I think now you've grown a lot of little conservatives amongst us, only because nobody wants to get canceled. Nobody wants to be silenced. I do think that Mike is correct. I think we need to have debate. We need to have healthy debate, and one that does not bring on violence. I would love to start those chats with the other side and see how we can come together to do this together.
Yeah, you certainly bring up the life and work of Kirk, and I want to come back to you on that in a minute. Mike, you initially started by the burden that the media, from network all the way down to social creators, bear in what has become just a very divisive climate. What are you hoping for out of political leaders? Obviously, many have already taken to Twitter or went on camera saying no room for political violence, but there's obviously something that incites the violence. And what are you hoping for to come positively from political leaders?
Yeah, it's a great question. Look, Kerry, Herm Edwards, the former coach of the Jets, he used to do a rookie symposium in the NFL where the first thing he would start off with is don't hit send. Before you push send on that tweet, he's like, I'm going to make a button that will get people to not hit send on that tweet. Yesterday, as reporters were gathering around, as we saw in the package that played before we came on, Manu Raju and other Capitol Hill correspondents that I know, including ones at this network, all went out there to ask lawmakers, right, what they thought of all of this. And we just heard from Elizabeth Warren, we heard from Adam Schiff in that package, we heard from Chip Roy, all of them condemning it. But what you didn't hear yesterday, Kerry, was the first thing that Nancy Mace said was to blame Democrats for inciting this type of violence. Now, again, I ask you, look, can we point to different rhetoric from folks on the left in terms of things that they have said that are unsavory, to say the least? Of course. Could we do it for people on the right, for a network that I worked at prior once upon a time? Of course. You can do that with anything. But again, this inward look, right, as somebody who used to be a segment producer and then an associate producer, you make up the segment based on the way you want it to look and sound and what you disseminate to the public. My ask is that of independent media, of traditional media, whatever it is that you want to call it and put it under an umbrella, before you push that out, before you book said guests to incite this hateful argument that could lead to violence, before you craft something in the lower third or in the chyrons that could get somebody to watching in a waiting room going, is that really what's happening right now? Before you do all of that, have some intentionality before you push it out, because there are mass amounts of people that will see it. And I don't want to say the individual names here of people that have pushed it out. You can go on Twitter and X, or you can go on Threads and see all the different people that have been caught up in this. But one of the things that I try to do, and I've talked to my producer about this, Kerry, and he'll say, you got to do this because they're talking about it. I don't want to do it. I don't feel that way. If I don't feel that way, I'm not going to do that. To Angie's point, I think Charlie Kirk, again, feeling a certain way, being conservative, that's not the issue. He started Turning Point USA to get more people to drive out the vote for conservatives. That is something, is good in conservative space. But the content angle of this, right, for others that are still alive, that are still pushing out hateful, divisive content, everything from the thumbnail to the title of the caption to the guest you book and what they're going to say. We have to have some intentionality. If we're truly going to solve this, we're never going to solve it, Kerry. Let me just lead let me give the ending of the movie here. We're never going to solve it because people don't want to solve it. Even seeing a video like that yesterday, which shook me to my core as somebody who comes on television to talk about news and politics, we're not going to solve it because there are a few that think like me. There are a few that have intentionality to what they want to do. There are a few that want to tone it down the way that I want to do. And my hope is that it starts to resonate with people, because the president of the United States almost lost his life, and now Charlie Kirk has lost his life. And I hope that those images, those videos, seeing all of that starts to have an impact in the way people push out content.
Yes, intentionality. They say words are like water. Once you put them out, you can't take them back. And that quote from Herm Edwards, of course, very appropriate in pausing for a moment before you send something out. Angie, as we wind up, I'd like you to talk a little bit about Kirk's life. When you think about the youth, you think about the activism of the left, the Rock the Vote, and all these initiatives that really have won the youth mostly to more left causes. Charlie Kirk went into sort of the lion's den in a way, very bravely, and he sort of went against the trend and had success. And he even went and interviewed, or was interviewed by, Gavin Newsom, and they had a very civil discourse. So I'd like you, as we finish up, just to leave us with some thoughts about Kirk's example.
Yeah, and he was a hero of the conservative movement, and what a movement it was. He was going into college campuses when it wasn't popular to be a conservative. I remember walking through college campuses You could wear a red hat, even. It didn't have to say anything. They just didn't allow. There was no tolerance for a red hat. That's how divided we've become. And Charlie Kirk, he's kind of paved the way to say it's okay to do this. And even if it is hard, even if it is challenging, I mean, those are miracles, I think. Those are not just setting examples for the youth, that's really paving the way to just think differently. And whether you're a conservative or anything else, you should be able to express yourself freely and not get hurt by it just because someone doesn't like the color of your hat. And so I think he's given so much hope to young people and across the nation. Anyone he spoke to, anyone who's ever met him will tell you that he's the nicest guy in the world. I mean, he's super helpful. He will make time for you whenever he can, and he loved to just talk to people. So I think that's one of the biggest things you can do as a leader. I'm certain that if he was still around with us, that he would have done amazing things in our government. And I think back to your earlier point of how do we tone this down? I'm not sure we can. We have a problem with social media because of clickbait, and the more violent the videos are, the more eyeballs it gets, and that's the weird algorithm that we're all on this like treadmill trying to get as many likes and admiration on social media. I think that has to be looked at. I've certainly spoken to two congressional members yesterday to discuss how do we move forward from this, because silent prayers equals silent action. We actually need to do something together. I would like to get my head together, especially here with Mike, and decide how are we going to do this. Maybe we need to be the way forward to say, look, we disagree, but we're going to be able to talk. We're not silencing each other. Let's start talking.
Well, Mike Leon, Angie Wong, both in Florida, your words bring us comfort on this dark morning. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good to see you.